Italy, a nation celebrated for its monumental cultural heritage and pivotal role in shaping Western civilization, now finds itself navigating through an existential crisis. In a land marked by architectural marvels and artistic masterpieces, the shadows of a looming financial collapse grow ever longer. This situation is not merely a contemporary anomaly, but a complex culmination of historical events, demographic shifts, and long-standing political challenges. As Italy grapples with mounting debt, political instability, immigration, and the aftershocks of several global crises, understanding how its past has shaped its present becomes crucial. This unfolding situation in Italy is more than a national crisis. It's a critical juncture that reflects on broader European challenges and raises questions about the future of the continent. Welcome to Living History. Since the Middle Ages and Renaissance, Italy has stood as a beacon of economic strength, leveraging its strategic location and pivotal trading routes. The late 19th and early 20th centuries marked a transformative era for Italy, as it navigated through the complexities of unification and the turmoil of two world wars. Despite these challenges, Italy emerged with an economy noted for its dynamic growth, particularly during the post-World War II era, known as the Italian economic miracle. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because what happened in Italy before the war is actually even more important in light of what is happening in the country today. The dawn of the 20th century saw Italy grappling with the aftermath of World War I, a period characterized by economic instability and rampant inflation. The societal unrest during this era paved the way for the rise of Benito Mussolini's fascist regime in 1922. Under fascism, Italy sought economic self-sufficiency and stability. Though these efforts were initially met with limited success, they marked a significant shift in Italy's economic policies, setting the stage for the complex decades that followed. As the Great Depression swept across the globe in the late 1920s and early 1930s, Italy was not immune to its devastating effects. The economic downturn led to a decline in international trade, further exacerbating the nation's financial woes. In response, the fascist government intensified its intervention in the economy, fostering a climate of state control over industrial and agricultural production. However, the aggressive foreign policy and military ambitions of the regime placed an additional burden on the already strained economy. The advent of World War II brought new challenges to Italy's doorstep. The country's involvement in the war as an ally of Nazi Germany exerted immense pressure on its resources and industrial capacity. The conflict resulted in widespread destruction of infrastructure and a significant depletion of economic reserves. No surprise then that the post-war period was marked by a severe economic crisis, characterized by high inflation, widespread poverty, and a pressing need for reconstruction and economic reform. In fact, Italy is currently in need of very similar shock therapy as in the post-war years, but more on that in a moment. You see, Italy's journey from a post-war nation to an economic powerhouse is a tale of remarkable resilience and ingenuity, driven by a secret weapon, a long tradition of high-quality manufacturing in the north. Italy's ascent to becoming Europe's lowest-cost maker of diverse goods, from automobiles to home appliances, is a testament to its industrial prowess. The migration of workers from rural to urban areas, transitioning from agriculture to manufacturing and services, catalyzed this growth. In fact, by 1987, Italy celebrated a significant milestone by overtaking Britain in real GDP per head. However, the path to economic leadership is fraught with challenges, distinct from those of catching up. Italy, once a net receiver of EU funds, saw its position shift by the late 1990s. Its unit labor costs had risen, sometimes even exceeding the bloc's average. With a history of low investment, a relatively small capital stock, and high public debt, Italy faced the daunting task of maintaining the high productivity growth of the 1960s and 1970s. Its vibrant, small, family-owned firms, once a strength, began to appear as a liability in a changing global economy. The year 1999 marked a significant turn as Italy joined the European single currency, the euro. This step was achieved despite challenges in meeting the convergence criteria set by the 1992 Maastricht Treaty, designed in part by Germany to exclude countries like Italy, perceived as irresponsible and chronically indebted. Italy's inclusion was aided by factors such as Spain's determination to join and Belgium's high public debt. debt, and when Italian Prime Minister Romano Prodi introduced a special euro tax to help meet the convergence criteria, things seemed to be on the up for Italy. But let's not forget, this is Italy we are talking about, where many see taxes as optional, but more on that in a moment. Inside the single currency, Italy needed a new economic model to remain competitive, particularly in reducing its unit labor costs relative to Germany. However, under Silvio Berlusconi's government, 2001 to 2006, labor and other costs continued to rise, leading to a steady loss of competitiveness, especially against other Eurozone countries like Germany. This, of course, also resulted in lower tax collection in a country that was already notorious for tax evasion. That's not all, though. External factors such as China's accession to the World Trade Organization in 2001 and the EU's enlargement in 2004 significantly impacted Italy's manufacturing sector. The financial crash of 2007 to 2009 and the Eurozone's sovereign debt crisis further exacerbated Italy's economic woes, and more recent events, including the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, leading to a surge in energy costs, have disproportionately affected Italy, highlighting its vulnerability to external economic shocks. There is, however, more to this story. You see, monetary and fiscal policies in Italy have often been too restrictive, contributing to a lack of growth, stagnant wages, declining living standards, and a demographic crisis as fewer couples can afford to raise a family. These challenges have led to underfunded public services and significant hardship, fueling public disillusionment with the EU and contributing to the electoral success of Giorgia Meloni's right-wing populist coalition. The echoes of the early 20th century could not be louder. Today, Italy faces severe inflation, rising interest rates, an immigration crisis, and a declining population adding to its economic challenges. The country's structural impediments, including low productivity and high debt, continue to afflict its economy. Addressing low productivity is crucial. Factors such as inefficient bureaucracy, high taxes, and limited investment in innovation have stagnated Italy's output per worker. Additionally, rigid labor market regulations and a sizable tax dodging problem, informal sector, have hindered job creation and economic growth. High debt levels further complicate Italy's economic landscape, with a debt-to-GDP ratio hovering around 150%. Italy allocates a significant portion of its budget to servicing debt, constraining spending in critical areas like healthcare and infrastructure. This high debt level deters investors and escalates borrowing costs, perpetuating a cycle of economic stagnation. Historically, Italy, as a major economic force within the European Union, has long been integral to the region's fiscal dynamics. However, recent analyses indicate that Italy is facing a severe economic downturn, with the threat of a significant financial crisis looming, and such a crisis would have severe consequences, not only for the euro but also the global economy. In this complex scenario, the Italian government's efforts to reduce debt and promote economic growth are vital, just as they were in the aftermath of World War II. However, these efforts must be complemented by structural reforms and strategic investments to reverse the economic decline and ensure a stable and prosperous future for Italy. But can this be achieved by a populist government that is increasingly inspired by Mussolini's fascism? To find out more about why Italy is dying and its immigration crisis, check out our next video linked here. See you there.